Welcome. We are going to be talking today about developing a business plan. My name is Rachel Painter, and I'm an extension specialist with the Value Added Agriculture Marketing Program with the Center for Profitable Agriculture. And with me today, I have Les Humpal with extension as well with farm management.
Hello, my name is Les Humpal, and I'm an extension specialist based in Murray County, covering South Central Tennessee. I do want to just send out just let everyone know what an honor it is to be presenting to over 800 Tennessee veterans. We're glad to be here. It's an area that's really dear to my heart. Is our son is a Marine veteran, so we're glad to be here and presenting today. Again, I'm with the Center of Farm Management, which is part of the UT Extension program. We focus on teaching and research programs on farm financial management in Tennessee and across the Mid-South. The center focuses on meeting the needs of Tennesseans, producers, and enhancing the long-term profitability and sustainability of agriculture enterprises in Tennessee. And through our extension program, the center focuses on developing the curriculum and delivering extension program based on the research finding and needs of our producers. And through this, we have presentation interaction with our extension clientele. The center provides leadership to programs such as the annual income tax school, master farm manager courses, UT farming fundamentals, farm transition planning, and the center's extension activities are in collaboration with UT extension specialists and county agents. As part of the managed team, it was founded back in 1986 as part of the difficult times in agriculture with high interest rates, low commodity prices, and low land prices. And it's designed to help Tennessee families make better, more informed decisions for their operation. So we focus on the evaluation of individual situations, whether it be full-time, part-time, or new beginning farmers. And we analyze the total farming business. The focus is on farm and financial management, as well as marketing, record keeping, and budgeting. Our farming and business planning can take it anywhere from a new beginning farmer all the way to the seasoned veteran farmer in making those decisions about what to do tomorrow, 5 years from now, whether to expand, contract, or liquidate a business. We also have ag tax education as well as marketing options as well. Again, I'm one of currently 8 agents across the state. We are in the process of hiring a vacant position in West Tennessee. However, each one of us will cover throughout the state if needed. One thing unique about our program is even though each managed agent has the same responsibilities working with producers, we also kind of specialize in different areas. For instance, we have one of the managed agents focuses on dairy production, another on small ruminant. We also have Dallas Manning, who has focused on the nursery production industry in South Central Tennessee, as well as doing extensive record keeping workshops. We have agents that have focused on value added, row crop, as well as beef cattle operations. So if there's something that I can't help you with or may not have the answer, I have those resources I can reach across the state to help you with. And again, the service is provided free of charge to our Tennessee clientele. Okay, Rachel.
Similar to Les, I am an extension specialist that serves statewide, but my topic area is value added enterprise marketing. So what is value added? It simply means that you are processing, packaging, or promoting your good or service in a way to gain more of the consumer dollar. So I help farmers evaluate, plan, and develop value-added enterprises. And part of that includes writing a business plan, which includes a marketing plan. So if you are starting a new business, or if you've been doing this for a long time, you should have a business plan, and that should include a thorough marketing plan. And we're going to cover that today. So if you are unfamiliar with our business plan publications, there are some documents that can help walk you through writing a business plan. And Les and I wrote these together. So these are available on the UT Extension publication website, and you can find them by simply Googling UT Extension and then the publication number. So you can see here that the template in the main document is D179A. So again, you could simply Google that and it would pop right up. But you can also just Google extension business development, business planning, and they will come up that way as well. So again, this is the template that you can use to help write a business plan. And this is at the end of the first document there, document A. So this is the template that can help you get started in writing your own business plan. And this worksheet is not for you to technically write the business plan on, but to help you get, kind of jot down some ideas as you are writing that plan. And you would want to have that, of course, typed or written nicely in some way so that you can turn it in to various places that you would need to. So grant agencies, loan agencies, whatever it is you're turning this business plan into, if you need to do so to get funding, then you would need to turn that in. So ideally it would be typed, not just written on this document. So right now we're going to cover steps for developing a business plan and then provide you with some resources that can help you in this process. So first we're going to go over what a business plan is so that you can have a thorough understanding of what you are trying to develop. And in that business plan, there are these 4 parts: this business description, a marketing plan, a financial plan, and finally an executive summary. So technically the executive summary comes first in your business plan, but it is written last. And then again, we will share with some tools to help you write this plan and some upcoming events that you could attend to help you in developing your business overall. And finally, hopefully you will come out of this knowing how to complete a business plan on your own. And we are here, again, if you have questions along the way as you write a business plan, reach out to myself or Les or any of your farm management specialists or Center for Profitable Ag specialists for assistance.
Through a business plan, it can be anywhere from a few pages up to 30 or 40 pages. But one thing with the program that Rachel and I have written, it's designed to be a shorter form, 4 to 5 pages. Some months ago, the Tennessee Department of Agriculture came to us looking for a way to work with producers in writing their business plan. Some of their grant funding opportunities that they have require a business plan, and they were receiving a business plan that might be handwritten on a notebook or note page, all the way up to those 30 or 40 page business plans. They wanted something a little bit more specific for their use. So this is why we kind of came up with the style that we're showing here today. So a business plan is defined as it summarizes how resources, financing will be used to reach financial, marketing, and operational goals. Remember these documents, once they're written, they're not stagnant. They're kind of a living document. So if in the future, say you're at a cow-calf operation that you sell weaned calves, but in the future you thought, well, maybe I'll sell freezer beef. So with that, you have the basic marketing, the business plan. Now you can add to it and evolve to reach the goals that you're setting out for. So it's not just about financial projections. You'll also think deeply about all aspects of the business. Who your target audience is, your consumers, or what are your resources, and what will your product be? This document will help you think through the business strengths and weaknesses and see where changes will need to take place. So we kind of look at, the whole scope of benefits of creating that business plan. First and foremost, it really stimulates the thinking and starting the conversation. not only if you're a sole proprietor, but if you're working with business partners, this is the way to kind of talk through, use as a sounding board to see if your ideas or your project really have merit to it. It really helps you form a better understanding of what you want to do and how to get there. So it serves as a reference and a resource. And one thing that's a big benefit to that is if you're working with partners, employees, or family members, it's a reference that they can use not only throughout the day, but long-term as far as setting goals of what needs to be done, short-term and long-term. Also, that the whole think through process, it really helps you identify some of the strengths and weaknesses. The strengths and weaknesses we looked at can be alluded to capital funding, labor, and also land. Some of the barriers when you think about a business, the barriers can be regulatory, or it can also be competition. Is that market saturated? Could be a barrier to it, or also distance to markets can be barriers. So again, it's a sounding board to kind of think through. So it provides those benchmarks as you develop your business over time, kind of like a ship steering, using the waypoints. It gives you those benchmarks in time and in the financial instances as well, what needs to be hit to reach those final goals. And it provides a structure for decision making and test some of those new ideas. Also, business, one of the first things that we want to look at is the business description, which is one of the first things within that business plan. Next slide. Now, even though this is the second part of the business plan, it is written first, and it should be probably one of the easier things you write because it's the overview of your current operation and business structure, things you already know that you have. It helps paint that picture of the resources available and the resources needed. Also think of it as a way, as you're writing your business plan, is you want to be as clear as possible so that audience that is reading it also will better understand your operation, what it is, what you want to do, and where you want to hope to go. So the first part of that business description is the business overview. You are going to kind of identify the purpose of your operation and thoroughly describe the products and services you provide. Whether it's that you're raising vegetables for a farmer's market, or if you have a sawmill, cutting raw timber into rough cut lumber or finished goods. Describe the size and scope of your business. That will be production capacity, also in dollars as well as, what are your sales per year? How many employees that you have? Also discuss, the economic impact that you have within the community. And that would be oftentimes within grant funding opportunities, they're looking at how your operation and the expansion of your operation will benefit the community in a way that maybe you're buying inputs from your local farmers, or you're buying cattle that you plan to resell, stimulating the economy. Also, keep in mind, how your business betters the community around you. And that could be through expansion. Adding employees is another one that they really look at within the grant funding opportunities. Next is describing the business history. How long or short. This part of it depends on how long you've been in business. One thing I do want to kind of point out, if it's a very, fifth or sixth generation farm or business, you don't want to go into too much detail about the history. Again, remember that your reader is interested in the highlights. Start as an overview of who has owned and managed the operation for how long. Also discuss the business, how it was started, and also how it's changed over time. Putting some of that information about the size, the scope of it, also the profitability. Now, if you're starting a new business, describe the background of the owners. And as veterans, you have that vast experience from military careers as far as leadership, skill experiences, and how those will translate in operating successful business. Third part of that business description is location. We're not really referring to a physical address, but more importantly about where you are related to your customers and also your input sources. Discuss how you make your location visible. If you're agritourism or you have a road front stand, will that be easy for your customers to find and access? Also, how does that consumer access your product, right? Is it going to be at farmers market? Is it going to be at pickup sites or retail location or online orders? All kind of fall under that location setting. Things to remember within your location as far as the cost and ease of transportation. You look at the cost of fuel now and time. If you're transporting 50 or 100 miles, it can take a great deal of your time and also expenses. So is that going to be a reasonable way to operate, and will that be profitable? And also keep in mind customers as well as suppliers. Is your location easy to get to as far as with trucks or cars or individuals to stop by? The fourth part of that business description that you want to add will also be facilities. Give an overview of the land as far as if you're more into producing commodity crops or you have a vineyard, talking about the acreage that you have, the buildings that might be used for whether processing, storing equipment, or goods that you produce, and also equipment. Now, equipment, you don't have to list everything that you own, but you would want to highlight those important processing pieces of equipment to let the reader know that you have a sound business and you're able to kind of produce and effectively run a business. Also, detail within this, the size, type, and quality and condition. And you want to discuss any additional equipment or infrastructure that you may need and have specific goals for that, and describe that investment required to attain those pieces of equipment. Another part of the facilities that you want to kind of keep in mind is include all the permits and licenses that you need to utilize to meet state and local regulations. That'll vary greatly within the type of processing or business that you have. If you have just a normal commodity type of farm, being it that say corn and soybeans, it'd be just very limited to anything that you would need as far as on the license side. But if you're doing processing such as meat birds, you'll have to have some permits and licensings as well, and also include expansion plans for the future. The fifth part of that business description is going to be the legal structure. So whether you're going to be a sole proprietor, partnership, or corporation, or LLC, if there is more than one owner, you would want to write out how that business is split, and also provide, who's going to be responsible for what area of operation. If you have a business partner that's focused on facilities and processing, and you're more on the production side, put that in that business plan as well. And finally, as far as deciding on the type of legal structure that you have, I would really strongly suggest that you visit with an attorney or a CPA to determine what best fits your needs. There are times that people set up a corporation or an LLC when they really don't need to. It's just an extra layer of fees and expense when they may not need. But again, please visit with a CPA or an attorney to see what best meets those needs. And some of the other considerations when you're putting a business plan together, not saying that they need to be within that core part of that 4 or 5 page document, but maybe in an appendix. Think through as far as some of the resources that you're working with: human capital, labor, financial capital, connections and equipment. Think about those backup plans that you that you would need. For instance, if you have a tractor that breaks down, what next? Or if you have an employee and they leave, how are you going to fill that position? We looked back through the drought of last year, what that had cost some of our producers if they lost crops. Do you have insurance in place to kind of cover those expenses? Or if you have a disease that breaks out in your herd, how is that going to be mitigated through veterinary health or a backup plan? So including some of these other considerations of in your production process, how it's produced and at what level and what the schedule looks like. So having those kind of other considerations thought through is extremely important to have a strong business plan in place.
So the next part of your business plan is your marketing plan. And this is the marketing plan publication. So again, this is publication C of that series, and you can find it and walk through all of this information for you as well. So within your marketing plan, you would include first a market analysis, and that market analysis is just an overview of the market trends and where you fit within the market. Then you would include your target market, and you would describe who your target customer is, and then you would describe your marketing mix. So let's dive in. In a market analysis, you are going to cover the size of the market that you're entering. So how many people demand this product? How high is the demand? How is it growing? What trends do you see in that marketplace? And any competition that you might already have. So you could find this information from census data, surveys, any information from your local community. So any surveys or census things that go on within your local community, as well as national census data. And you can also just observe your competition. So visit farmers markets, local retail stores, go to anywhere where your competition could be and see what they are selling, how it's going, what you find their customers are looking for, and if those customers' needs are being met. So you could also include in that competition analysis a SWOT analysis of your competition. So here at the bottom of the screen, you can see you would want to describe your competition in detail and build some competitor analysis for each competitor that you have. So cover what products and services they offer or activities if it's agritourism, the number of employees that they have, and if yours is different than that, kind of describe why they might need more or fewer employees for their operation than yours. What location and area are they serving? So geographically, how far is their reach? And is that going to overlap with yours, and how? And then the primary markets that they are selling through. So are they selling through wholesale channels, direct to consumer? Are they selling at farmers markets and you plan to sell at a retail store, or vice versa? So really describe how they are meeting their customer and how you plan to meet that same customer. So if you have the same customer base, then how are you going to differentiate yourself from them? And if your customer base slightly overlaps, then describe why. So again, you would want to make sure that you are thoroughly covering how your business or your operation is going to fit into the market, what segment of that market you are going to fill, the niche that you are going to fill, how large that niche is, and then how you are going to meet the needs of consumers. As you go through and identify those topics, you would also be able to identify your target customer, your target market. So your target customer is someone that is specifically has a need for what you can provide, and you would clearly need to know what your product is, what benefits that it has. So what benefits are your customers looking for, and how much are they willing to pay for that? So that goes through for our 4 C's of target consumer marketing. So we'll go over that in a second, but you really need to understand who your target customer is before you start developing promotional strategies so that you can match those strategies with their needs. So again, when you're thinking about who your target customer is, you want to cover the 4 C's of marketing. So that is consumer cost. So what your consumer is going to have to give up in order to get your product or service. And that includes the actual cost of the product, so what you are charging, but also their opportunity cost. So the time that it takes to get your product or to experience your agritourism operation, the mileage, so how far away they are from you, and their gas money and everything else they're having to give up in order to reach you as well. Then you want to think about the consumer benefit. So what are they getting out of this? Obviously, they're getting the actual good or service that you're providing, but they are also getting other benefits as well. So maybe they get to feel good about purchasing from a veteran. Maybe they get to feel good about purchasing from a local farmer, or they get to have that experience of bringing, their children to your farm to pick up their product or their CSA subscription. So think about what else your consumer is looking for, what benefits they're looking for, and try to fill those as well. So again, they could find your product more than likely at a grocery store. If that's all they're simply looking for is just squash, they can find that elsewhere. But what else are you providing along with that purchase? You also want to consider convenience and how easily accessible your product is to your customer. Is it easy to find? So can they find out about you easily? And do they know who you are and what you stand for and what you value? And then is it easy to actually follow through with that purchase? So do you accept various forms of payment? Can they, find you when they need you? Are you always at the same location so that they know when to expect you there? And again, do you accept various forms of payment so that they can make that purchase easily? And communication is key always. In every kind of relationship, communication is key. So we want to make sure that we are clear with our customers how we are communicating with them. So we want to communicate everything in 3 different forms. So you always want to communicate whatever main points you are trying to get across to your customer in 3 different ways. So typically that would include in-person interaction. So whenever that sale is taking place, if you were physically in person with them, you would want to communicate your main points of your operation and what you stand for with your customer. So in-person would be one form. Then you would have maybe a website so that you're telling your farm story on your website and on your social media channels. You can also keep your return customers up to date with more in-depth information about who you are and what you stand for and what you have to offer through an email newsletter or some kind of VIP situation so that they feel rewarded for sticking around and returning as your customer. It's also important to remember that communication is always a two-way street. So you can provide that customer with information about you, but you also need to provide them with a way to provide you with feedback as well. So a lot of our customers are probably going to give us the benefit of the doubt if we purchase something that is maybe not up to our quality standards. So they purchase something, they get it home, and they are less than satisfied with that product. They would more than likely like to reach out to you directly and let you know that. So easily making yourself accessible to them is really important as well. So if they can't find a phone number or a way to directly message you, then they probably would put that on social media for the rest of the world to see. So instead of that going out on blast to everyone, they would rather typically reach out to you directly and let you make that right. So again, providing your phone number or a way to directly message you or submit comments or feedback is a really good idea, not only so that they can provide you with good feedback, like a Google review, but also direct feedback in case they have a concern. So now we're going to match those 4 C's with our 4 P's of marketing. So our 4 P's of marketing are product, price, place, and promotion. So this is your marketing mix. So the marketing mix, again, includes your product. So what it is you have to offer, that's your good or service that you have to offer. And then how you are differentiating that product from your competitors. So how is your product better or more unique than your competitors? And again, we don't want to describe how we are better by putting down our competition. We want to describe what characteristics or qualities or experiences that we are offering and the good qualities of those that we think sets us apart from everything else that's on the market. We also want to talk about the price. So what are we charging for our goods and services? And how do those compare to our competitors' prices? And then if we have a sustainable profit margin or not. So we always have to understand our true cost of production, and that way we can have a sustainable profit margin and stay in business So we also want to consider, again, how much is it costing us to produce this and how much is our profit margin. We then want to think about the place. So just like Les just shared about, where is your product offered? So what distribution or marketing channels are you utilizing? So that could, again, include a U-Pick operation, that could include an on-farm store, a retail store that is, a downtown little store. It can include farmers markets. It can include a CSA subscription pickup, and maybe that's on farm, maybe that's at another local business. So where physically are you meeting your customer? And that includes those physical locations, but also online. So if you are selling anything online, maybe people can purchase their CSA online or find out about you online. So not just where that purchase is taking place, but physically, online, and in person, where your customers can come into contact with you or your business information. And promotion. So what promotional strategies are we utilizing? Are we advertising in certain places? What kind of advertisements are we utilizing? Are we using any kind of rewards programs to keep our customers coming back? Are we including any kind of bulk or volume discounts, as well as bundling? So typically when we are talking about especially value-added products, we don't want to devalue our product at all by lowering that price or having a blanket discount on all of our products. We really want to only attach any kind of discount to bundled or bulk services. So if we put together a large CSA basket, then they might get a little bit of a price break because those products were bundled together. So we think about this all the time when we get, buy two, get one half off or something like that. So that's what we're talking about with bundling. And then again, they could get a discount for that. And again, we want to think about how we can establish that brand image, that brand recognition with our customers. This is especially important for a new business to establish that brand recognition so that immediately your consumer knows who you are, what you stand for, and why they should purchase from you just from seeing your logo or just from seeing you, set up wherever you set up and sell your products. And so that way they know who you are and it's very quickly recognized.
Okay, kind of progressing right along, and we're going to talk about the financial plan. And for many operations, the financial plan is probably the most important part of that business plan. Next slide. So when we really are looking at a business plan, it's typically the most important part of the business plan. This is where you want to show and evaluate the current financial resources of the operation. You want to include any funding requests into this plan, and you want to be very clear about this. So when you get to the end of that business plan, if you're requiring any type of grant funding, you want to be clear about what is being purchased, how much it's going to cost, and also how it will benefit your operation in the long run. This exercise, as far as helps you in decision making for the future. So when we're looking at the financial position, we really suggest that you go and put together a balance sheet. This shows your current financial position of your operation, kind of like that stamp in time. Typically, we'll want to see one put together at the first of the year and also at the end of the year. You utilize a balance sheet to kind of access what are your assets, the short term, those that are used within a year, usually grain in the bin, cash on hand. A current liability would be paying a bill maybe at the co-op or your gas company, and also making payments on loans, whether it be intermediate loans or long-term loans. So we want to kind of find out here, the owner's equity that you have and net worth. This way you can evaluate the ability of your operation to kind of meet those obligations as well as handle risk. A balance sheet is a good indication of how your net worth has changed over time. Sometimes when you're looking at just your tax records, like on Schedule F, one year looks like you made money, the next year may lose money, but the more important part is how that net worth has changed over time. And it's a source to use as, can you make new investments? Do you have enough cash flow to meet your current obligations to take on new debt? Another key part of that financial statement is looking at historical performance, right? Describe kind of key trends in production from year to year over the last maybe 3 to 5 years. It shows the measure of production as well as financial performance, specifically, how it's changed over time. In this part of that cash income statement, you want to look at things that include production levels, yield, quantity produced, and also profitability. A good tool to use with this in conjunction as far as putting together a profit or loss statement, also called income statement, would be your Schedule F form, where you can look at the revenues that you had through the year. You can project what you're going to be doing in the years ahead, as well as looking at expenses. The Schedule F will have the different individual categories broke down for you, whether you're using maybe a Quicken or QuickBook program, or even Excel. These are easily exported into an income statement to follow. Thirdly, you want to really look at your projections. So if you're making an expansion or asking for funding to bring in a new piece of equipment, you want to consider the most important part of that financial section and describe where your business is heading in the next 3 to 5 years. So when you're looking at that business expansion, you want to share with your readers and with yourself as far as how changes in your operation will affect the bottom line over time. So you want to kind of look at, provide a cash flow statement is a great way to do this. You show how your projected income will exceed expenses based on changes in operations, improvements, and expansions, and include how production and marketing scenarios will impact profitability. You want to convey to your reader in this section as far as if you're adding a new product line, how you're going to market that product and how it will increase profitability over time. And also discuss how the operation will stand any volatile issues it may face, which could be, competition. It could be weather related, but you do want to show the reader how the financial strength of the operation and how any changes will impact those decisions that you made. Also, when we kind of look at a financial or funding request, again, this is probably the most critical part of your business plan as you're applying for funding or grant funding opportunities. How is that funding going to be requested? You want to describe how much is needed, how those funds will be used, and the timeline of implementations of your goals and business plan. In many cases, if you're applying for grant funding, it's often a cost share, whether it's 75-25 or 50-50, where you have to come up with that other portion of a total grant fund. So you do want to work with your lenders, whether it's FSA, Farm Credit, or your local bank, to show that you can support that with your equity and investments. You want to add in, of course, whether it's going to be private lending, grant funding, within the total scope of the business plan and the funding request. Some of the partners that we work with here, as you can see, with farm service agencies, as being veterans, they have many great programs that can assist in lending opportunities, typically at a lower interest rate that you can get at a commercial lender. Our partners with the Tennessee Department of Agriculture, they have the Tennessee Ag Enhancement Program, as well as the Tennessee Agriculture Enterprise Fund to assist throughout different times of the year with funding opportunities. Rachel?
So last but not least, we have the executive summary. So again, this is on the first document of our series, document A, and you can see here that it is basically just a brief description and summary of the rest of the parts of the business plan. So we put this Shark Tank image on here because it is basically your elevator pitch. So this could be the only part of your business plan that is even actually read by the reader. So this part should really include the most important information from the rest of your business plan sections. So you, of course, want to include your name, the owner's names, any major leadership positions that are on the farm, any information about the location. Again, we don't want to go into too much depth about the location, but we do want, the city, the name of the town, and where that's located in description of where your customer base is as well. We also want a brief description of the products and services offered. Of course, more in-depth information will come later in that document, the parts that we've already discussed, but a brief description of the products and services that are offered, and then a concise mission statement. So again, since this is your big elevator pitch section or your abstract, if you want to think about it that way, of your entire document, you really want that concise mission statement that says why you're here and why you're doing what you're doing. You really want to define the purpose of the operation, and again, what needs are being met by the products or services that you are offering for customers. Your goals for the next 3 to 5 years. So again, we don't need all of your goals, but the main big picture goals in this section. And then you do want to include that main capital funding request at the very end of this executive summary. And again, you would go into more depth about that in that financial plan section. Other information that you want to include in your executive summary could include how you're actually going to monitor any of these measures. So your production or financial measures, so that performance plan or record keeping or benchmarking goals and how you plan to get there is really important, so that you can show to the reader that you do have a plan and you are going to obtain that goal in which ways. So what are your action steps? And then a transition plan as well. So who is going to succeed after you? We don't want to ever really think about what would happen if the main owner of the farm was no longer able to serve as the main owner, if something were to happen to them. But we do need to have a plan for that and have a transition plan in place and put that in our business plan so that everyone knows what the next steps would be. We also want to talk about any kind of lease agreements or any other long-term agreements that might impact the business plan. We want to have any information about our stakeholders. That could include their resumes or just information about who they are, who is making decisions or giving input. And then any kind of big ownership changes or enterprise changes. So if you turned a horse farm into a vegetable production operation, then when did that happen and why did you kind of change that course of action? And then again, any kind of new markets that you plan on targeting as well. So is there a niche that you plan on trying to explore, or any kind of major direction changes of the business? Again, any kind of emergency plan. This could be even beyond a transition plan, but any kind of natural disasters and how you would handle those, or any kind of information about how you would handle any type of emergency on the farm. And again, that doesn't have to necessarily be in the executive summary. It could just be an attachment. Any of these could be attachments that you want to add and update separately from the entire business plan document. So again, these could be supporting documents, or they can be included in the main plan.
As we mentioned earlier, a business plan could be anywhere from a few pages up to 30, 40 pages. But today what we kind of covered here is one that's kind of designed to be a 3 to 5 page document. It's going to be kind of concise, no fluff, only what is needed by lenders and granting agencies. We suggest having 3 versions of that plan, starting with this 3 to 5 page, but also then building it out, something that's more in depth that you have as a reference on your own farm, listing all the details that you would need, what each employee would do. As far as the ownership structure, what if you have working with a business partner, who's going to be in charge of what part of the operation, who's going to be to do the marketing or production practices. We want to list in that longer business plan, all the licenses or permits that you want to meet. Also, it's a great idea to have just a one-page version of that to use for, say, the elevator speech. If you want to be sitting down in front of a banker or someone that just a short period of time, or someone, even a customer or future customer you're working with, something that hits the highlights of your business to share with them. Another resource that we use as far as writing business plans is Ag Plan. It's a free resource developed by the University of Minnesota. You can go to their website, just type it in agplan.u of M, and they'll bring it up. This is another tool that you can use it to create as many plans as you like. As you're going through the process, you can share your information with other reviewers to help edit and make comments to build a strong business plan. One thing with Ag Plan, it does provide tips and resources and also some samples of each part of that business plan. One thing that you will note that if you go on and just kind of investigate it a little bit, it's very detailed. And it's not meaning that you need to have all that information within a business plan. Tailor your business plan to who the end reader or user is going to be. So if you're applying for some grant funding, look at that grant application and see what's required, and then kind of tailor your business plans to it. So this is just a sample of what the Ag Plan looks like when you open it up. It's very simple. You just put in your email address, simple password, and sign in. Again, there's no registration fee for this, and you can have as many different plans as you would like.
So thank you so much for joining us and watching this presentation about building a business plan. We do want to acknowledge and thank our colleague Erin Bell for making this presentation in the first place. So she made this slide set so that we could use it for many different presentations to different groups. And we hope that you were able to follow that along and find that helpful. So an upcoming program that you might find helpful to attend is hosted by our managed specialists like Les across the state. So the Tennessee Master Farm Manager Program is coming up this summer, June 2023. And again, you can find that on their website. If you just type in Manage UTK or Manage Tennessee, it should pop right up. And this is the list of speakers and topics for this year. So starting in June 6th and going through June 22nd, there's also some pre-recorded sessions that you can view as well. And the registration is now open for that. So you just click this online registration button, complete that registration online, or you can register by mail by May 31st. So there's flyers that are posted from the managed team as well that you can see as well. Your local extension agent should have more information. So if you have any questions about this, you can contact Les or one of your farm management specialists across the state, or you can ask your local agriculture extension agent in your county. I also want to share about some of our YouTube videos for the Center for Profitable Agriculture. So on the Center for Profitable Agriculture YouTube channel, you can find a lot of different videos, and I noticed that many of our farmer veterans that joined us are selling at farmers markets. So I don't know if you were on our farmers market training or not, or aware of it, but we do host a farmers market vendor training annually, and typically those are held in January or February. And you can see here this farmers market vendor training. There's one on post-harvest handling, one on consumer preferences. If you skip down here, best practices, and then sales tax. So there's a lot of different videos that can help you cover various topics about growing and selling at farmers markets specifically. There's also information about the value-added producer grant. If you are interested in applying for that, these would be a great idea to go and watch those recorded sessions as well. We also have some programs coming up in June that are new. And I want to share with you about those. If you're interested in growing hops or just learning more about selling any ingredients into the craft beer industry, you can join us in June for Hops Week. So Tennessee Hops Week will be celebrated across the state June 12th through the 16th. And June 13th, there will be an event in Memphis, and that will be at Agri Center International. We will tour their hop yard and barley field and learn more about including hops in beverages. So there will be a panel discussion and tours outside. So it'll be a great day of learning and networking together in Memphis. And then on June 15th, later that week, we will be in Knoxville for a similar event at the new UT Hop Yard. So if you're not familiar with that, we did put in a hop yard at the UT Plant Sciences unit there on Alcoa Highway. And our plant sciences friend, Dr. Mitchell Richmond, and Dr. David Lockwood are in charge of that hop yard. So they will be there to share more about the future plans of that hop yard and what we hope to accomplish with it. We will also move to Yeehaw Brewing Company. They are hosting the second half of that day for a panel discussion and an explanation of how hops are used in beverages. So again, join us either in Memphis on June 13th or June 15th in Knoxville if you are interested in learning more about hops or the craft beverage industry. So thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to answering any of your questions. Please feel free to reach out to myself or Les if you have any questions, and thank you again.